Picture this, a world where ancient engineers built machines so advanced they wouldn't be matched for over 1,000 years, where craftsmen forged metals with secrets modern science still can't fully replicate. Where entire cities thrived in deserts using water systems we'd struggle to recreate today. This isn't science fiction, it's our forgotten past. For centuries, we've underestimated the brilliance of ancient kingdoms, dismissing them as primitive. But what if I told you they possessed technologies so sophisticated, they defy everything we thought we knew about history, hidden in shipwrecks, buried beneath deserts, and locked within crumbling manuscripts lie 50 groundbreaking inventions, each one a testament to genius lost to time. From a 2,000-year-old device that predicted eclipses with pinpoint accuracy to a weapon that burned on water, these aren't myths, they're real. And today we're uncovering them all, but here's the chilling part, we still don't know how some of them worked. The deeper we dig, the more questions we find. Who were these masterminds? Why did their knowledge vanish? And most haunting of all, what else is still out there waiting to be found? Stick with me, because by the end of this journey, you'll see history in a whole new light. The past wasn't just stones and spears. It was a playground of innovation where the impossible became routine. And the most thrilling part, this is just the beginning. Let's dive in. Now, let's turn our attention to the first marvel on our list, a device so ahead of its time, it rewrote the history of technology. Imagine a world where ancient Greeks could predict eclipses, track planetary movements, and even calculate the dates of Olympic Games, all with a hand-cranked machine. This wasn't magic, it was the Antikythera Mechanism, discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece in 1901. This corroded bronze artifact looked like little more than a lump of metal at first glance. But when researchers peered inside, they found something astonishing. A complex system of interlocking gears, precision cut like the inner workings of a modern clock. Yet this wasn't just any clock. It was a mechanical computer capable of modeling the cosmos with staggering accuracy. Here's what blows historians' minds. The Antikythera Mechanism dates back to around 100 BC, but nothing even remotely as sophisticated would appear again until the 14th century. That's a gap of over 1,000 years. How did the ancient Greeks achieve such precision without the tools we take for granted today? The device even accounted for irregularities in the moon's orbit, a detail European astronomers wouldn't grasp until the Renaissance. Modern scientists have spent decades trying to recreate this masterpiece, using advanced imaging to decode its secrets. X-rays revealed tiny inscriptions, a user manual etched in bronze guiding the operator through celestial predictions. Some researchers believe it might have been the work of Archimedes himself, though we may never know for sure. What's haunting is that this wasn't some one-off experiment. Ancient texts mention similar devices, hinting at a lost tradition of mechanical genius. So why did this knowledge vanish? Was it war, the collapse of civilizations? Or simply the passage of time erasing what it couldn't preserve? The Antikythera Mechanism isn't just a relic. It's a whisper from the past, urging us to question what else might be waiting beneath the waves or buried in the pages of history. And this is just the beginning. Next, we'll uncover how the Romans built structures that still stand strong after 2,000 years, while our modern concrete crumbles in decades. But that's a story for another moment. Now, let's shift our gaze from the intricate gears of ancient Greece to the towering monuments of Rome specifically, the indestructible backbone of their empire, Roman concrete. While modern buildings crumble after a few decades, structures like the Pantheon and the Colosseum have stood for over 2,000 years, defying earthquakes, wars, and the relentless march of time. What was their secret, a recipe so advanced we're still trying to crack it today? The magic lay in the mix. Modern concrete relies heavily on Portland cement, which weakens over time as cracks form and water seeps in. But Roman engineers used a blend of volcanic ash, lime, and seawater, creating a chemical reaction that actually strengthened the material over centuries. When seawater interacted with the volcanic ash, it formed rare minerals like aluminous tobamorite, filling in microscopic gaps and making the concrete nearly impervious to wear. It wasn't just durable, it was self-healing. Here's the twist: this knowledge vanished with the fall of Rome. Some historians blame the collapse of trade networks that supplied volcanic ash from Pozzuoli. Others suggest the recipe was a closely guarded state secret, lost when the empire fragmented. Whatever the reason, the Middle Ages saw a return to brittle, inferior materials, and Europe wouldn't rediscover concrete's potential until the Industrial Revolution. Today, scientists are racing to reverse engineer this ancient marvel. Laboratories have even replicated the Roman formula, proving its superiority in side-by-side tests. Imagine if modern cities could rebuild with this technology: bridges that last millennia, seawalls that grow stronger with every wave. The irony: we're spending billions to reinvent what the Romans perfected centuries ago. But the story doesn't end here. Next, we'll journey to the Middle East, where blades so sharp they could slice through silk and myths were forged from a steel that baffles modern science. Stay tuned. Now, let's turn our attention from the unyielding strength of Roman concrete to the dazzling artistry of Middle Eastern metalwork, specifically the legendary Damascus steel. These weren't just swords, they were masterpieces of engineering, capable of bending without breaking while maintaining an edge so sharp it could slice a silk scarf midair. What made them so extraordinary? A secret recipe lost to time, wrapped in layers of myth and science. The heart of the mystery lies in the raw material: Wootz steel ingots forged in India and traded across the Middle East. Craftsmen in Damascus, then a hub of weapon-making, heated, folded, and hammered these ingots into blades with distinctive swirling patterns like frozen water ripples. But it wasn't just about aesthetics. Modern electron microscopes reveal something astonishing: carbon nanotubes embedded in the steel, forming a nanostructure that gave the blades unmatched flexibility and sharpness. Even today, metallurgists can't fully replicate the process. How did ancient smiths achieve this without modern technology? The answer might lie in the unique impurities of Indian iron ore, combined with precise temperature control during forging. Some theories suggest the addition of rare plant extracts or even crushed gemstones to the molten metal, creating chemical reactions we're only beginning to understand. What we do know is that by the 18th century, the technique vanished, possibly due to depleted mines or lost trade routes, leaving behind swords so prized. European nobles falsely claimed they were forged from dragon bones. Today, scientists are piecing together clues from surviving blades and historical texts. Recent experiments using high-carbon steel and slow cooling have come close to mimicking the Damascus pattern, but the original method's perfection remains elusive. Imagine if we could unlock it: surgical tools with self-sharpening edges or unbreakable alloys for spacecraft. The legacy of these blades isn't just in their beauty, it's a challenge from the past, daring us to rediscover what was once common knowledge. But our journey through forgotten technologies is far from over. Next, we'll step onto the battlefields of Byzantium, where a weapon so terrifying it could burn even on water changed the course of naval warfare. Stay with us. Now, let's set sail into the fiery heart of Byzantine warfare with one of history's most enigmatic weapons: Greek fire. Picture this: enemy ships closing in, only to be met with jets of liquid flame that clung to wood and water alike, turning the sea itself into a blazing inferno. This wasn't just any fire, it was a closely guarded state secret, so devastating that it saved Constantinople from sieges time and again. The Byzantines called it liquid fire, and its delivery system was as ingenious as the substance itself. Historical accounts describe bronze siphons mounted on ships, spewing flames with a roar like dragons breathing. Some scholars believe these were early pressurized pumps, possibly using piston mechanisms to launch the fiery mixture over distances. But the real mystery lies in the fuel. Ancient texts hint at a recipe involving crude oil from the Black Sea, mixed with pine resin for stickiness and quicklime to ignite on contact with water. Yet, despite countless attempts, no modern recreation has perfectly matched its described behavior, burning relentlessly, even in rain or waves. Why has the formula remained lost for over 1,000 years? Part of the answer lies in Byzantine paranoia. Emperors reportedly restricted knowledge to a single family of chemists, executing anyone who leaked details. Even the term Greek fire was coined by their enemies. The Byzantines never wrote it down. Another theory suggests the recipe relied on regional ingredients, like distilled petroleum from specific wells, that vanished with the empire's decline. Modern chemists have proposed everything from naphtha to magnesium, but the closest recreations still lack the original's terrifying persistence. The legacy of Greek fire isn't just in its destructive power, but in the questions it leaves us. Was it the world's first flamethrower, a chemical weapon ahead of its time? Whatever the truth, its shadow lingers in modern warfare, from napalm to incendiary bombs. And as we continue our journey through forgotten technologies, we'll next uncover an ancient artifact that might just rewrite the history of electricity. Stay tuned. Shifting our focus from the blazing seas of Byzantium, let's step into the shadowy realm of ancient electricity with the Baghdad Battery. Discovered in the ruins of a 2,000-year-old Parthian village near modern-day Iraq, these unassuming clay jars, each about the size of a fist, hide a tantalizing secret. Inside, a copper cylinder houses an iron rod sealed with asphalt. Fill it with vinegar or grape juice, and you've got a rudimentary electrochemical cell capable of producing around 1 volt of electricity. The big question: what on earth did the ancients use it for? One compelling theory points to electroplating, coating objects with thin layers of precious metals. Artifacts from the same era show gold-plated items with finishes too delicate for traditional hammering. Skeptics, though, argue there's no direct evidence linking these jars to plating. No wires, no electroplated objects found nearby. Some suggest they were simply storage containers for sacred scrolls, with the iron and copper acting as corrosion-resistant seals. But here's where it gets intriguing. Modern replicas prove these jars can generate electricity. In one experiment, a stack of 10 recreated batteries produced enough voltage to electroplate a small silver statuette. Yet, without ancient blueprints or explicit records, we're left piecing together clues. Could this have been a forgotten tool of artisans, a ceremonial object? Or just a happy accident of chemistry? The Baghdad Battery challenges our assumptions about technological progress. If it was a battery, it predates Alessandro Volta's official invention by millennia. But even if it wasn't, its very existence hints at a world where ancient minds tinkered with forces we'd later claim as modern. As we continue our journey, prepare to unravel another mystery, this time high in the Andes, where knotted cords held the secrets of an empire's vast knowledge. Now let's journey high into the Andes, where the Inca Empire managed a vast civilization without a single written word, at least not in the way we'd recognize. Instead, they used quipus, intricate bundles of knotted strings that served as their accounting system, historical records, and possibly even storytelling devices. Imagine an entire empire's data stored not on clay tablets or parchment, but on a rainbow of cords, each knot and color holding a specific meaning. These weren't just random tangles. Quipus were meticulously organized, with a main cord from which dozens of pendant strings hung, each featuring clusters of knots. The position, number, and type of knots, whether figure 8, long, or braided, encoded numerical data. Colors added another layer. Red might signify warriors, yellow for gold, green for crops. With this system, Inca administrators tracked everything from census numbers and tax obligations to military supplies across thousands of miles of rugged terrain. But here's the mystery: could quipus have recorded more than numbers? Some researchers argue that certain complex quipus might encode narratives, poems, or even laws. Spanish chroniclers noted that Quipu masters, called Quipucamayos, could read these codes aloud like a book. Yet, without a living expert to decipher them, modern scholars are left playing a high-stakes game of historical Sudoku. Today, around 600 quipus survive in museums, many still untranslated. Advances in technology like 3D scanning are helping researchers analyze knot patterns and colors at microscopic levels. One breakthrough came when a team matched a quipu's knots to a Spanish census document, proving it recorded village populations, but cracking the full code remains elusive. Were quipus purely practical, or did they hold the lost literature of the Andes? What's undeniable is their sophistication. While Europe was still relying on parchment and ink, the Inca built a data system that was portable, durable, and crucially secure. Only trained officials could interpret them, making quipus one of history's earliest encrypted records. As we unravel the next forgotten technology, consider this: sometimes the most advanced systems leave no trace on paper, just knots whispering secrets across centuries. Now let's travel east to ancient China, where innovation took a dramatic turn in the year 132. That's when a brilliant polymath named Zhang Heng unveiled something extraordinary: the world's first earthquake detector. Picture this: an ornate bronze vessel nearly 6 feet wide, adorned with 8 dragons coiled around its surface, each clutching a metal ball in its jaws. Below them, 8 bronze toads sat with their mouths wide open, waiting. When the earth trembled, a dragon would release its ball, and with a loud clang, the falling metal would alert officials to both the quake's occurrence and its direction. But this wasn't just a clever art piece. Inside the vessel, Zhang Heng had engineered a precision pendulum system. At the slightest tremor, the central pendulum would sway, triggering a mechanism that opened the jaws of the dragon facing the quake's epicenter. Modern tests with replicas confirm it worked, sometimes detecting quakes hundreds of miles away, long before the shaking reached the capital. What's astonishing is how closely this ancient design mirrors the principles of today's seismometers, which also rely on pendulums to measure ground motion. Zhang Heng's seismoscope wasn't just ahead of its time, it was a triumph of interdisciplinary thinking. As an astronomer, he understood celestial mechanics, and as an engineer, he applied that knowledge to the Earth itself. Historical records claim his device once detected a quake so distant that messengers arriving days later confirmed it, stunning the imperial court. Yet, like so many ancient marvels, the original seismoscope was lost to history. Only written descriptions survive, leaving modern researchers to reverse engineer its secrets. Some scholars argue the device might have used a system of levers or even liquid mercury to enhance sensitivity. Others point out that its directional accuracy suggests an understanding of seismic waves long before modern geology. Whatever the case, Zhang Heng's invention stands as a testament to human ingenuity, a 2,000-year-old reminder that the line between ancient and modern science is often thinner than we think. As we move forward, keep this in mind. Sometimes the past doesn't just whisper clues about history, it roars with solutions we're still rediscovering today. Now, let's journey to the lush rainforests of ancient Mesoamerica, where the Maya were mastering a material so advanced it wouldn't be replicated until the 19th century: rubber. While Charles Goodyear is often credited with vulcanizing rubber in the 1840s, the Maya had already perfected the process nearly 3,000 years earlier. Their secret, a clever blend of natural latex and the sap of the morning glory vine. Picture this: workers harvesting latex from rubber trees, then mixing it with the juice of a specific climbing vine called Ipomoea alba. This wasn't just a random experiment, it was a precise chemical reaction. The sulfur-like compounds in the morning glory sap acted as a binding agent, transforming the sticky latex into a durable, elastic material. The result was rubber that could bounce, stretch, and even repel water, something European explorers wouldn't encounter for centuries. The Maya didn't stop at simple waterproof coatings. They crafted solid rubber balls for their famous ball game, a ritual sport with courts found in cities across their empire. These balls, some the size of basketballs, could rebound with astonishing energy thanks to the vulcanization process. Archaeologists have even found evidence of rubber-soled sandals, adhesives, and waterproof textiles, all made possible by this ancient innovation. What's truly remarkable is how this technology spread. By the time the Aztecs rose to power, they were trading rubber as a valuable commodity, using it for everything from medical tools to ceremonial items. Yet, when Spanish conquistadors arrived, they dismissed rubber as a curiosity, failing to grasp its potential. It would take modern chemists centuries to rediscover what the Maya had known all along, that nature held the key to one of the most versatile materials in human history. So the next time you bounce a ball or slip on rain boots, remember, the roots of rubber science stretch back far earlier than we often assume, and who knows what other ancient secrets might still be waiting in the jungle. Now let's turn our gaze to the shimmering sands of ancient Egypt, where artisans were crafting glass with a brilliance that wouldn't be matched for centuries. While medieval Europe struggled with cloudy, impure glass, Egyptian craftsmen had already perfected techniques to create stunningly vibrant colors, like deep cobalt blue and a luxurious gold-infused hue known as the purple of Cassius. The secret lay in their advanced furnace technology. Egyptian glassmakers built kilns capable of reaching incredibly high temperatures, allowing them to melt silica, the main component of glass, with remarkable purity. But they didn't stop there. By adding cobalt oxide, they produced that iconic rich blue glass, often used in jewelry and ceremonial objects. Even more impressive was their method for creating the royal purple of Cassius, a dazzling shade made by suspending tiny particles of gold in the glass matrix. This wasn't just decorative, it was a feat of nanotechnology centuries ahead of its time. Meanwhile, in medieval Europe, glassmaking had taken a step backward. Their furnaces couldn't achieve the same heat, leaving impurities that made glass brittle and discolored. Stained glass windows in Gothic cathedrals, while beautiful, were a far cry from the flawless transparency and vivid colors the Egyptians had mastered. It wasn't until the Renaissance that European glassmakers rediscovered these ancient techniques, finally catching up to innovations that were already old news along the Nile. So the next time you admire a piece of colored glass, remember, its origins trace back to the workshops of ancient Egypt, where science and artistry merged to create something truly timeless. And that's just one more example of how the past was often far more advanced than we give it credit for. Now, let's journey to the arid landscapes of ancient Persia, where engineers devised a brilliant solution to one of the harshest challenges, water scarcity. Enter the Qanat system, a marvel of underground aqueducts that turned barren deserts into thriving oases. Unlike surface canals that lose precious water to evaporation under the scorching sun, these hidden tunnels delivered cool, clean water with astonishing efficiency. The genius of Qanats lay in their gravity-fed design. Persian engineers would first locate a water source, often at the base of a mountain. Then they dug a gently sloping tunnel, sometimes stretching for miles, to guide the water downhill to cities and farmlands. Along the way, vertical shafts were sunk at regular intervals, not just for construction access, but to provide ventilation and maintenance. This precise engineering ensured water flowed steadily without pumps or external power, purely by the force of gravity. What's truly remarkable is how these systems transformed entire regions. Cities like Yazd and Gonabad flourished in the middle of deserts, thanks to Qanats delivering water for drinking, irrigation, and even cooling homes. The tunnels minimized evaporation, kept water clean from contaminants, and maintained a consistent supply year-round. Even today, some qanats remain in use after thousands of years, a testament to their flawless design. While other civilizations relied on visible aqueducts like the Romans, Persia's underground network was a stealthier, more sustainable innovation. It's a reminder that sometimes the most advanced solutions aren't the loudest, they're the ones working silently beneath our feet. And that's the legacy of the qanat, a hidden lifeline that turned the impossible into reality. Now, let's shift our focus to the high-tech forges of ancient South India, where metallurgists perfected a steel so extraordinary it became the stuff of legends. While Damascus Steel often steals the spotlight, its secret actually begins here, with Indian wood steel, the original material that made those legendary blades possible. What set wood steel apart was its revolutionary crucible process. Indian smiths would mix iron ore with specific leaves rich in carbon, then seal it all in clay crucibles and heat them in charcoal furnaces. This wasn't just melting metal, it was a carefully controlled chemical reaction. The result, a high-carbon steel ingot with a unique crystalline structure, shimmering with wave-like patterns when forged into blades. These weren't just beautiful, they were terrifyingly effective, combining razor-sharp edges with unusual flexibility that could bend without breaking. Here's where the story takes a darker turn. When the British colonized India, they prioritized mass-producing cheap iron for their factories over preserving this intricate art. The exact techniques passed down through generations were lost as traditional smiths were pushed out of work. For centuries, modern scientists struggled to recreate wood steel's properties until recent discoveries revealed how its nanostructure, formed by those precise carbon interactions, gave it unparalleled strength. So while Damascus Steel gets the fame, remember, it was India's forgotten crucibles that first unlocked the secret. And that's the bittersweet legacy of woods, a technology so advanced even empires couldn't replicate it once it was gone. Now let's step into the luxurious homes of ancient Rome, where even the floors were engineered for comfort. While we might take central heating for granted today, the Romans perfected it over 2,000 years ago with a system called the hypocaust. Picture this: beneath the marble floors of wealthy villas, a network of hollow tiles and raised pillars created a hidden space where hot air could circulate. Servants would stoke wood-fired furnaces in the basement, sending warmth upward through these channels, gently heating every room above. What's truly remarkable is how efficient this system was compared to what came later. During the medieval period, most Europeans shivered through winters huddled around smoky open fires or relied on drafty hearths that lost most of their heat. But Roman hypocausts, they distributed warmth evenly, with some villas even featuring adjustable flues to control the temperature in different rooms. The tiles themselves were a stroke of genius. Their hollow design trapped heat, releasing it slowly long after the fires died down. Here's the twist: when Rome fell, this technology vanished for centuries. Medieval builders lacked the knowledge or resources to recreate such sophistication, leaving later generations to endure colder, less comfortable living conditions. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that modern central heating began to catch up to what the Romans had mastered. So next time you adjust your thermostat, remember the ancients were way ahead of the curve. Their hypocausts weren't just functional, they were a glimpse of the good life lost and rediscovered. Now let's travel east to ancient China, where warfare took a fiery turn with one of history's most terrifying innovations. Centuries before modern flamethrowers, Chinese inventors were already mastering the art of controlled fire with a weapon known as the fire lance. Imagine a simple bamboo tube packed with gunpowder. Light the fuse and suddenly, you've got a jet of flames shooting several feet forward. These weren't just experimental gadgets, they were battlefield game-changers by the 10th century, used to devastating effect against enemy troops and even wooden fortifications. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The fire lance wasn't just a standalone weapon, it was the spark that ignited a revolution in military technology. Over time, soldiers and engineers began experimenting with thicker tubes and more powerful gunpowder mixtures. By stuffing projectiles like broken pottery or metal scraps into the bamboo, they accidentally created the earliest versions of what we'd recognize as cannons. Think of it, a weapon designed to burn suddenly became one that could blast through walls. What's truly remarkable is how quickly this innovation spread and evolved. Within a few centuries, the crude bamboo fire lances had transformed into cast metal cannons, changing warfare forever. While Europe was still relying on swords and arrows, Chinese armies were already harnessing the destructive power of gunpowder in ways that would reshape global combat. So the next time you see a modern flamethrower or artillery piece, remember, its origins trace back to a simple bamboo tube and a flash of ancient ingenuity. Now let's shift our gaze to the banks of the Nile, where beauty and science intertwined in a way that might surprise you. Egyptian eye makeup wasn't just about looking striking, it was a brilliant blend of style and survival. The iconic black coal lining their eyes wasn't merely cosmetic, it was packed with lead salts, which modern research reveals had powerful antibacterial properties. In the scorching sun and dusty winds of ancient Egypt, eye infections were a constant threat. But the Egyptians had a secret weapon, their coal. Studies show that the lead compounds in coal actually stimulated the production of nitric oxide in skin cells, boosting the immune response and fighting off bacteria. This wasn't just makeup, it was medicine. Imagine lining your eyes every morning not just to look regal, but to shield yourself from infections in an environment teeming with irritants. What's even more fascinating is how advanced their understanding was. They didn't have microscopes, yet they stumbled upon a formula that protected them from ailments modern science is only now fully appreciating. And while today we might cringe at the idea of lead near our eyes, their carefully balanced mixtures minimized toxicity while maximizing protection. So next time you see those dramatic Egyptian eye designs in art or movies, remember, they weren't just fashion statements. They were a testament to ancient ingenuity, turning everyday beauty rituals into life-saving science. As we peel back the layers of history, it's clear that even the smallest details, like a swipe of eyeliner, held profound meaning. And with that, we're ready to uncover another marvel, one that proves the ancients were far ahead of their time. Now, let's journey to ancient Greece, where the line between myth and machinery blurred in the most extraordinary way. Picture this, 2,000 years before the Industrial Revolution. A brilliant inventor named Hero of Alexandria was already harnessing the power of steam to create what can only be called the world's first robots. Hero's most famous invention was his mechanical theater, a miniature stage powered entirely by steam, ropes, and gears. Imagine wooden figures moving on their own, acting out an entire play with scenes that changed automatically. Doors opened, ships sailed, and even storms were simulated, all without a single human hand touching the mechanisms. It wasn't just a toy, it was a masterpiece of engineering that demonstrated principles we still use today. But Hero didn't stop there. He also designed automatic temple doors that seemed to open by divine command. Hidden beneath the floor, a fire heated water in a sealed altar, creating steam that flowed through pipes to weights and pulleys. When priests lit the fire, the doors would mysteriously swing open, leaving worshippers in awe. To the ancient Greeks, it must have felt like magic. To us, it's a stunning example of early automation. What's truly remarkable is how Hero's ideas echoed through time. Centuries later, Renaissance inventors like Leonardo da Vinci studied his work, sparking a revival of mechanical innovation. The same principles that made Hero's automata move gears, steam, and precise calculations laid the groundwork for the clockwork marvels of the 16th century and beyond. So the next time you see a modern robot or an automated system, remember, The seeds of that technology were planted not in a Silicon Valley lab, but in the workshops of ancient Alexandria. Hero's genius reminds us that the past was far more inventive than we often give it credit for, and that some ideas are truly timeless. With that, we're ready to step into another realm of ancient innovation, where stones fit so perfectly they defy explanation. Now, let's travel across the ocean to the towering peaks of the Andes, where the Inca civilization left behind stonework so precise it baffles engineers to this day. High in the mountains, their walls stand unshaken literally. While modern buildings crumble during earthquakes, these ancient structures have withstood centuries of tremors without a single crack. How? The answer lies in their mind-bending masonry. Picture massive stones, some weighing over 100 tons, cut into irregular polygonal shapes that fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. No mortar, no gaps, just seamless connections so tight you can't slide a sheet of paper between them. The precision is so exact that researchers debate whether the Incas had access to some lost softening agent, a plant-based solution that temporarily made granite malleable like clay. Others argue their tools were simply that advanced, perhaps using bronze alloys we've yet to rediscover. But here's the real marvel. These walls weren't just built to last, they were designed to dance. During earthquakes, the stones shift slightly, then settle back into place, a feature modern architects call dynamic masonry. Compare that to rigid concrete structures that snap under pressure, and you start to see why these techniques are still studied for disaster-proof construction today. The mystery deepens when you realize the Incas left no written records of their methods. Were they master geologists who understood stone's natural fractures? Did they have measuring devices far ahead of their time, or was it something even more extraordinary? Whatever their secret, one thing's certain. When it comes to building for eternity, the Incas might just have had the ultimate blueprint. And speaking of blueprints, our next stop takes us to a civilization that turned navigation into an art using nothing but sunlight and crystal. Now, let's set sail into the misty waters of the North Atlantic, where Viking explorers charted unknown territories with nothing but their wits and a mysterious tool, the sunstone. Imagine navigating stormy seas without a compass, under skies so thick with clouds that the sun is completely hidden. For most sailors, this would spell disaster. But the Vikings had a secret weapon, a crystal that could reveal the sun's position even when it was invisible to the naked eye. These sunstones, believed to be made of calcite, had a remarkable property: they could polarize light. By rotating the crystal until the light passing through it matched in brightness, Viking navigators could pinpoint the sun's location with surprising accuracy. This wasn't just guesswork. Modern experiments have proven the method works. Researchers using replicas of these crystals successfully navigated under overcast skies, sometimes within just 1 degree of the sun's true position. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. While no sunstone has ever been found aboard a Viking ship, ancient texts and sagas describe their use, and archaeologists have uncovered similar crystals in Viking settlements. Could these unassuming stones be the reason Vikings managed to cross vast, treacherous oceans, reaching as far as North America centuries before Columbus? The evidence is compelling. Recent tests with sailors using calcite sunstones on open water have shown that, even in heavy cloud cover, the technique remains effective. It's a stunning reminder of how ancient mariners combined keen observation with natural technology to conquer the seas. And it makes you wonder what other forgotten tools might still be waiting to be rediscovered. Speaking of hidden innovations, our next journey takes us to the deserts of Persia, where an ancient engineering marvel turned barren landscapes into thriving oases. Now, let's journey from the stormy seas of Viking navigation to the rugged landscapes of ancient China, where an entirely different kind of ingenuity was at work, one that reached deep beneath the earth. Centuries before the modern oil industry, the Han Dynasty engineers were already mastering the art of deep drilling. using bamboo derrick rigs to tap into brine wells thousands of feet below the surface. Picture this towering structures made of bamboo, reinforced with hemp ropes and iron bits pounding relentlessly into the earth. These weren't just shallow pits. Some of these wells reached depths of over 3,000 feet, a staggering feat for a technology developed more than 1,900 years before the West would even attempt something similar. The secret to their success: percussion drilling. Unlike simple hand-dug wells, this method used a heavy iron bit attached to bamboo cables, lifted and dropped repeatedly to fracture rock and bore deeper. It was slow, grueling work, sometimes taking years to complete a single well, but the payoff was immense. These wells produced not just brine for salt, but also natural gas, which the Chinese cleverly piped through bamboo tubes to fuel evaporation furnaces. What's truly remarkable is how advanced their understanding was. They devised systems to prevent cave-ins by using hollow bamboo casings, a technique still echoed in modern drilling. They even recorded detailed logs of soil layers showing an early grasp of geology. While Europe was still relying on shallow wells, China's technology was unlocking resources hidden far beneath the surface. This wasn't just innovation, it was industrial-scale precision, achieved without steel cables or diesel engines, and it makes you wonder how many other ancient breakthroughs have we underestimated. As we marvel at these towering bamboo rigs, our next stop takes us to the heart of another empire, where stone met engineering in ways that still baffle experts today. But now, let's turn our attention from the depths of Chinese drilling to the precision of Roman medicine, where cutting-edge tools were saving lives 2,000 years ago. Imagine walking into a Roman surgical theater and seeing instruments so familiar they could belong in a modern operating room. Among the ruins of Pompeii, archaeologists uncovered forceps with scissor-like grips, scalpels with razor-sharp steel blades, and even bone drills with interchangeable bits. These weren't crude implements, they were masterpieces of metallurgy designed for tasks ranging from delicate eye surgeries to amputations. The Romans didn't just treat wounds, they pioneered techniques like cataract removal and cesarean sections with tools that wouldn't look out of place today. What's truly striking is how far ahead they were of their time. Roman surgeons sterilized their instruments in boiling water, understood the importance of clean bandages, and even used early forms of anesthesia like opium-soaked sponges. Compare this to medieval Europe, where medical knowledge regressed dramatically. For centuries after Rome's fall, procedures like bloodletting with leeches or drilling holes in skulls to release evil spirits were common, while Roman precision was forgotten. The Pompeii discoveries reveal another layer of sophistication. Tools were often decorated with intricate designs, suggesting surgeons took pride in their craft. Some scalpels had ivory handles for better grip, while bone drills featured adjustable heads to control depth, a level of ergonomics that wouldn't reappear until the Renaissance. This wasn't just medicine, it was a system. Roman military hospitals, or valetudinaria, had dedicated surgical wings with running water and organized staff. They documented successful operations, from setting fractures to removing arrowheads, in manuals that later civilizations ignored. So why did this knowledge vanish? Perhaps it was the collapse of Rome's infrastructure or the shift toward mystical healing in the Middle Ages. But one thing's certain, when we hold these ancient tools, we're not just looking at artifacts. We're seeing a lost standard of care that took humanity centuries to rediscover. And speaking of rediscovery, our next journey takes us to a civilization that turned everyday materials into something extraordinary, where glass wasn't just functional but breathtakingly beautiful. Now let's shift our gaze to an object so small yet so puzzling that it challenges our understanding of ancient innovation. The Nimrod lens, unearthed in modern-day Iraq, this 3,000-year-old piece of rock crystal, roughly the size of a walnut, has sparked debates among archaeologists for decades. Could this be the world's oldest known lens, crafted around 750 BC in Mesopotamia? The Nimrod lens is a polished oval with a slight convex curve, capable of magnifying objects when held at the right angle. Its optical quality is surprisingly refined. Experts estimate it could focus sunlight or magnify small text with a clarity comparable to early Renaissance lenses. But here's the mystery. Was it a tool for artisans to engrave intricate details, a magnifier for the elderly, or even part of an ancient telescope? Some theories suggest Assyrian astronomers might have paired it with another lens to observe the stars, centuries before the first recorded telescopes. What's undeniable is the craftsmanship. The lens was ground symmetrically with a focal length of about 4 inches, proving Mesopotamians understood light refraction long before the Greeks formalized optics. Unlike crude decorative glass, this was precision work likely shaped using fine abrasives like emery powder. Yet no other lenses from this era have been found, leaving us to wonder, was this a one-off experiment or evidence of a wider, lost technology? The Nimrod lens forces us to reconsider the timeline of optical science. While the ancient Greeks often get credit for early lens theories, this artifact predates them by centuries. It's a humble reminder that brilliance wasn't confined to one civilization or era sometimes. It's hidden in plain sight, waiting to be brought back into focus. And as we ponder the secrets of light and glass, our next discovery takes us to a civilization that turned water into life itself, where engineering met artistry in the heart of the desert. Now let's journey from the mysteries of light to the ingenuity of water, where the Aztecs turned swamps into thriving farms. Imagine a city like Tenochtitlan, built on a lake with no fertile soil to feed its people. The solution, floating gardens or chinampas, one of history's most brilliant agricultural innovations. These weren't just rafts with dirt piled on top. The Aztecs engineered chinampas as permanent artificial islands, weaving reeds into rectangular frames and anchoring them to the lakebed with willow trees. They'd then layer nutrient-rich mud from the lake bottom, creating plots so fertile they could harvest up to 7 crops a year, compared to medieval Europe's 1 or 2. The secret: continuous renewal. Farmers dredged fresh mud to replenish nutrients, while canals between plots acted like irrigation ditches, keeping roots hydrated. But here's what's truly revolutionary. Chinampas were self-sustaining. Fish in the canals provided protein, their waste fertilized crops, and aquatic plants like algae suppressed weeds. It was a closed-loop system: no pesticides, no synthetic fertilizers, just pure synergy with nature. Modern agriculture, with its heavy reliance on chemicals and water waste, could learn a thing or two from this ancient model. Today, remnants of chinampas still exist near Mexico City, some still in use after 500 years. They're a testament to how the Aztecs didn't just adapt to their environment, they mastered it. And as we marvel at their harmony with water, our next stop takes us to a civilization that conquered mountains with terraces carved into sheer cliffs. Leaving behind the floating gardens of the Aztecs, we now turn our attention to an invention that could have rewritten history if only the ancient world had realized its full potential. Meet Hero of Alexandria's Eolipile, the world's first known steam engine, a device so ahead of its time it feels almost out of place in the 1st century. Picture this: a hollow metal sphere mounted on a boiler with 2 bent tubes protruding like arms. When the water inside boiled, steam shot through those tubes, causing the sphere to spin at dizzying speeds, a primitive but undeniably functional steam turbine. Hero called it a wind ball, but what he'd really created was a blueprint for an industrial revolution, 2,000 years before the age of factories and locomotives. So why didn't the Greeks harness this power? The answer lies in context. To Hero and his peers, the Eolipile was a temple curiosity, a marvel to amuse audiences rather than a tool to transform labor. Ancient societies relied on abundant slave manpower, making mechanization seem unnecessary. There was also no infrastructure to scale the technology, no precision metalworking for pistons, no demand for mass production. It was a solution without a problem, yet the implications are staggering. Had the Eolipile been paired with gears or pumps, it could have drained mines, powered mills, or even propelled ships. Instead, its potential slept in scrolls until the Renaissance, when inventors like Da Vinci rediscovered Hero's work. By then, the world had to reinvent the wheel, or in this case, the steam turbine. As we reflect on this missed opportunity, our next discovery takes us to a civilization that didn't just observe the stars, they built clocks to track them across the night sky. Now, let's step into the silent grandeur of an Egyptian tomb, where the ceiling itself becomes a timekeeper. The ancient Egyptians didn't just gaze at the stars, they turned them into a celestial clock. Scattered across tomb ceilings are intricate diagrams known as star clocks, a sophisticated system for tracking the passage of night hours long before mechanical timepieces existed. Imagine lying in the darkness, watching as specific stars crossed designated lines painted overhead. Each star's movement marked another hour, dividing the night into 12 equal segments. These weren't random doodles, but carefully calculated charts, tailored to different months of the year as the night sky shifted. Priests and astronomers used them to time rituals, while farmers relied on them to plan irrigation under the cool cover of night. What's truly remarkable is their precision. Modern recreations show these star clocks could track time within a 15-minute margin of error, astonishing for a system relying solely on naked eye observation. Compare that to early medieval mechanical clocks, which often drifted by hours due to crude gear mechanisms. The Egyptians achieved this accuracy by mapping 36 decans, or star groups, that rose sequentially throughout the year. As one set vanished at dawn, another appeared, creating a perpetual cosmic calendar. Yet these star clocks weren't just practical tools. They were bridges between Earth and the divine, linking timekeeping to the eternal cycles of gods like Osiris and Nut. While later cultures would mechanize time, the Egyptians embedded it in the very fabric of the universe, a reminder that their brilliance stretched far beyond pyramids and pharaohs. As we leave these starry vaults behind, our journey takes us to an innovation that balanced beauty and utility, where architecture met the heavens in a dazzling display of light and shadow. Now let's journey from the starry vaults of Egypt to the misty cliffs of ancient China, where engineers defied gravity with a breathtaking innovation: the world's first suspension bridges. Picture this: as early as the 3rd century before the Common Era, Chinese builders were weaving bamboo into cables strong enough to span dizzying canyons, creating bridges that swayed like living things yet held firm under the weight of travelers and traders. These weren't just crude rope walkways. The Chinese perfected a technique of twisting bamboo fibers into thick, flexible cables, then anchoring them to stone piers carved into cliff faces. Some bridges stretched over 300 feet, connecting remote mountain villages and trade routes that would have otherwise been impassable. The secret lay in bamboo's natural strength. Its fibers are tougher than steel by weight, and when woven together, they created a resilience that could withstand storms, earthquakes, and time itself. What's truly groundbreaking is how these ancient designs echo in modern engineering. The same principles of tension and support used in those bamboo cables inspired the steel suspension bridges we rely on today, from the Golden Gate to the Akashi Kaikayo. Even the basic layout, towers holding up cables that support a deck, was pioneered by these 3rd century innovators. Yet perhaps the most remarkable thing is how these bridges blended form and function. Unlike the rigid stone arches of Rome, Chinese suspension bridges moved with the wind, absorbing shocks rather than resisting them. Local legends tell of bridges singing in the breeze, their bamboo cords humming like giant instruments, a harmony of human ingenuity and nature's forces. As we cross this ancient marvel, our path leads to another fusion of practicality and artistry, where warmth and convenience met in the bustling streets of the Roman world. Shifting our gaze from the swaying bridges of ancient China, let's step into the vibrant streets of Pompeii, where the Romans mastered a different kind of innovation: fast food. Imagine walking down a bustling Roman avenue, your senses hit by the aroma of sizzling meats and spiced wine, all served up in seconds at a thermopolium. These weren't just simple snack stalls, they were the ancient equivalent of modern-day food courts, complete with built-in technology to keep meals piping hot. The genius lay in their design. Each thermopolium featured terracotta pots called dolia embedded directly into the countertops. These pots were filled with hot coals or water, acting as ancient warming trays that kept dishes like lentil stew, fish sauce, and honey-glazed nuts at the perfect temperature for hours. Archaeologists have found traces of carbonized food still clinging to these containers, revealing menus that would feel surprisingly familiar today. Street food meant for busy workers, travelers, and even late-night revelers. What's striking is how these thermopolia mirrored modern dining culture. Just like today's food trucks or grab-and-go counters, they catered to a fast-paced urban lifestyle. Pompeii alone had nearly 90 of these establishments, proving that Romans valued convenience as much as flavor. Some even had frescoes advertising their daily specials, a precursor to today's menu boards. But here's the twist: these weren't just for the working class. Wealthy Romans also frequented thermopolia, drawn by the lively atmosphere and communal dining experience. It's a reminder that the joy of street food transcends time, whether you're in 1st century Pompeii or a 21st century city. As we leave the smoky aromas of these ancient eateries, our next stop takes us to a technology that turned play into something sacred, where rubber met ritual in the heart of Mesoamerica. Now, let's journey from the bustling streets of Pompeii to the lush jungles of ancient Mesoamerica, where the Olmecs turned rubber into something far more than just a material. They transformed it into a sacred tradition. Picture this: vast stone courts flanked by towering walls, where players dressed in elaborate gear battled not just for sport but for the favor of the gods. At the heart of this ritual lay a marvel of ancient engineering: the rubber ball, bouncier and more durable than anything Europe would see for thousands of years. The Olmecs didn't just stumble upon rubber, they mastered it. By mixing latex from rubber trees with the sap of morning glory vines, they unlocked a chemical reaction that vulcanized the material, making it resistant to heat and wear. This wasn't just a technical feat, it was a stroke of genius that produced balls capable of soaring high off stone courts with a bounce that amazed even early Spanish explorers. Modern tests show these balls could rebound to nearly 2/3 of their original height, a testament to the Olmecs' sophisticated understanding of materials. But these games were far more than entertainment. The ball game was a cosmic drama, a reenactment of mythological battles between life and death, light and darkness. The court itself symbolized the underworld, and the ball's movement mirrored the path of the sun across the sky. Winners might earn riches or honor, but losers. Some historians believe they paid the ultimate price: ritual sacrifice to appease the gods. What's truly fascinating is how this technology spread. The Olmecs, often called Mesoamerica's mother culture, shared their rubber secrets with the Maya and Aztecs, who expanded the game's spiritual and political role. Rubber balls even became offerings, buried with elites or tossed into sacred cenotes as gifts to the gods. As the echoes of this ancient sport fade, our next discovery takes us to a place where water wasn't just a resource, it was a canvas for architectural brilliance. Leaving behind the rubber courts of Mesoamerica, we now descend into the arid landscapes of ancient India, where necessity gave birth to one of history's most ingenious water solutions: the stepwell. Imagine walking down a staircase not to reach a basement, but to find water shimmering at the bottom of a colossal, ornate structure carved deep into the earth. These weren't just wells, they were inverted temples where every step was a prayer for survival in a land where water was as precious as gold. The brilliance of Indian stepwells lies in their dual purpose. While their towering walls and intricate carvings showcased the artistry of kingdoms like the Solankis and the Rajputs, their true genius was hidden beneath the surface. By digging deep into the ground, sometimes as far as 10 stories down, builders tapped into groundwater reserves that remained cool and stable even during scorching droughts. The step design wasn't just for grandeur, it served as a natural evaporation shield. Unlike open ponds or reservoirs, the narrow, shaded steps minimized exposure to sunlight and wind, slashing water loss in a region where every drop counted. But these structures were more than just engineering marvels. They became social hubs where travelers rested in the cool lower levels, priests performed rituals, and communities gathered during festivals. The steps doubled as seating, and the carved niches held oil lamps that transformed the wells into glowing spectacles at night. Some, like Rajasthan's Chand Baori, boasted over 3,000 steps arranged in perfect symmetry, a geometric masterpiece that still baffles modern architects. What's truly remarkable is how these stepwells adapted to their environment. In Gujarat's Rani Kai Vav, the walls were lined with thousands of tiny sculptures that not only told mythological stories but also created microchannels to guide rainwater into the reservoir. Meanwhile, the well's depth ensured that even during the driest months, water remained accessible. As we climb back out of these subterranean wonders, our next stop reveals how another civilization turned the sky itself into a tool for survival. Now, let's set sail across the Mediterranean to the shores of ancient Egypt, where one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world held a secret that might have revolutionized light itself: the Pharaohs of Alexandria. Towering over the harbor, this colossal lighthouse didn't just guide ships with an ordinary flame. Legends whisper of a mirror so advanced it could throw firelight across the sea for dozens of miles, a feat that still sparks debate among historians today. The mystery centers on that mirror. Ancient writers like Julius Caesar and the Arab scholar al-Masudi described its brilliance in awe-struck terms, claiming its beam was visible from impossible distances, some said as far as 35 miles out to sea. But how the leading theory suggests the mirror wasn't just flat glass or polished metal, but a parabolic reflector, a curved surface that could focus and intensify light like a modern satellite dish. If true, this would mean the Greeks had cracked the science of optics centuries before the principles were formally understood. What's even more fascinating is how they might have maintained such a precise instrument. The mirror, possibly made of polished bronze or a mosaic of concave glass panels, would have required constant calibration to keep its focus sharp. Some accounts hint at a team of technicians adjusting its angle daily, using counterweights or rotating mechanisms to track the sun's path for maximum reflection. At night, they'd replace sunlight with a massive fire likely fed by resinous wood or even naphtha to create that legendary beacon, yet the truth remains just out of reach. When the pharaohs finally collapsed after earthquakes in the 14th century, its mirror, if it existed, was lost to time. Modern experiments with replica parabolic mirrors show the concept works, projecting light far beyond what a simple flame could achieve. But without physical evidence, we're left piecing together clues from fragmented texts and the laws of physics. As the glow of Alexandria's wonder fades from view, our next discovery takes us to a battlefield where fire wasn't just a guide, but a weapon. But now, let's step away from the battlefield and into the private chambers of ancient Egypt, where beauty and status intertwined in the most unexpected ways. Hidden beneath the linen wrappings of mummies, archaeologists have uncovered something startling: elaborate hair extensions, meticulously braided from human hair and plant fibers, proving that ancient Egyptians took their hairstyles as seriously as their pyramids. These weren't just fashion statements. The wigs and extensions found on mummies, some with hundreds of individual strands woven together, reveal a society where hair was a direct reflection of social standing. The wealthier you were, the more intricate your hair could be. High-status individuals, especially women, wore wigs made from real human hair, often imported from foreign lands, while those of lower ranks made do with plant fibers like palm leaves or reeds. The craftsmanship was astonishing. Some wigs even had built-in padding or intricate curls, held together with beeswax and resin to last for eternity. But why go to such lengths? In Egypt's scorching climate, shaved heads were practical, but baldness wasn't exactly fashionable. Wigs solved the problem, offering both protection from the sun and a canvas for self-expression. Priests and priestesses wore specific styles for rituals, while courtiers flaunted the latest trends to signal their closeness to the pharaoh. Even in death, hair mattered. Many mummies were buried with multiple wigs, ensuring they'd look their best in the afterlife. What's truly fascinating is how these ancient techniques mirror modern beauty standards. The Egyptians used natural dyes like henna to add color, and some wigs show signs of careful maintenance, suggesting regular styling sessions. Archaeologists have even found combs and hairpins buried alongside them, tools that wouldn't look out of place in a salon today. As we leave the world of ancient glamour behind, our next discovery plunges us into the heart of innovation, where a simple cart revolutionized labor in ways no one saw coming. Now let's journey from the world of ancient beauty to the fertile fields of Han Dynasty China, where innovation wasn't just about style, it was about survival. Picture this: farmers bending over their fields, painstakingly planting seeds by hand, one by one, season after season. Then, in the 2nd century before the Common Era, everything changed with the invention of the multi-tube seed drill. This wasn't just a simple tool, it was a revolution in agriculture. The Chinese seed drill allowed farmers to plant rows of seeds with precision, using multiple tubes to drop seeds at even intervals while a blade at the front carved neat furrows. No more wasted seeds, no more uneven growth. The result, crop yield skyrocketed, some estimates suggesting up to 10 times more efficient than hand sowing. Imagine the impact. Families could grow more food with less labor, freeing up time for other crafts and trades. But the brilliance didn't stop there. The seed drill's design was so advanced that it wouldn't be matched in Europe for over 1,500 years. While medieval European farmers were still scattering seeds by hand, Chinese fields were already benefiting from technology that maximized every inch of soil. The drill even had adjustable settings for different crops, a level of sophistication that wouldn't become common elsewhere until the Industrial Revolution. What's truly remarkable is how this invention rippled through history. The surplus food it helped produce supported growing populations, fueling the expansion of cities and trade networks along the Silk Road. Some historians argue that this agricultural leap laid the groundwork for China's economic dominance in later centuries. As we marvel at this ancient innovation, it's hard not to see its echoes in modern farming. Today's massive seed drills are direct descendants of those Han Dynasty designs. Yet, while our machines are powered by engines instead of oxen, the core idea remains the same: work smarter, not harder. And speaking of working smarter, our next discovery takes us to the heart of another ancient empire, where engineers tackled a challenge even more daunting than planting fields, lifting stones heavier than elephants. Now, let's shift our gaze from the fields of ancient China to the bustling construction sites of Rome, where engineering marvels reached heights that would astonish even modern builders. Imagine standing at the base of a massive temple column, weighing as much as 50 tons, equivalent to 10 adult elephants, and wondering how on earth ancient workers lifted it into place without modern machinery. The answer lies in the ingenious Roman treadwheel crane. This wasn't just any crane, it was a masterpiece of mechanical advantage. Powered by human labor, workers would step inside a giant wooden wheel, much like a hamster wheel, and walk forward. Their collective weight and movement turned the wheel, which rotated a central axle connected to a series of compound pulleys. These pulleys multiplied the force applied, allowing a small team to hoist staggering weights with surprising precision. The Romans didn't just rely on brute strength, they harnessed the power of physics. Calculating the mechanical advantage reveals just how clever this system was. A typical Roman crane used multiple pulley blocks, each doubling the lifting force. With 3 sets of pulleys, for example, a single worker could effectively lift 6 times their own strength. That's how a team of 10 could maneuver a 50-ton column into place, inch by inch. To put that in perspective, modern cranes use similar principles, though now powered by engines instead of human feet. But the brilliance didn't stop at raw power. These cranes were modular, designed to be disassembled and transported to new construction sites. Archaeologists have found evidence of their use in projects from the Pantheon to the aqueducts, proving their versatility. And unlike the temporary cranes of today, many Roman cranes were built to last, with some structures still standing 2,000 years later, a testament to their durability. What's truly fascinating is how this technology faded after Rome's fall. Medieval builders reverted to simpler methods, and the treadwheel crane didn't reappear in Europe until the 12th century. For centuries, the secret of lifting colossal stones was lost, leaving later generations to puzzle over how the Romans achieved such feats. As we marvel at these ancient machines, it's clear that Roman engineers didn't just build structures, they built the future. And speaking of building, our next journey takes us to a civilization that mastered stone in a way that defies explanation, fitting blocks so perfectly that not even a blade could slip between them. Now let's journey from the towering cranes of Rome to the dense jungles of the Maya, where the stars weren't just points of light, they were the heartbeat of an entire civilization. High atop the Pyramid of El Caracol, a spiral-shaped observatory, Mayan astronomers gazed at the heavens with a precision that rivals modern science. Their target, Venus, the dazzling morning and evening star, which they tracked with an accuracy that still leaves researchers in awe. The Maya didn't just observe Venus, they lived by its rhythm. Their calculations pegged its cycle at 584 days, a figure astonishingly close to today's measurement of 583.92 days. But here's what's truly mind-blowing. They didn't have telescopes or advanced instruments. Instead, they used the carefully aligned windows and doorways of El Caracol to mark Venus's positions against the horizon. A slit in the observatory's wall, for example, framed the planet's northernmost rise, while other openings tracked its path across the sky. This wasn't random architecture, it was a celestial calculator carved in stone. Why such obsession with Venus? To the Maya, it wasn't just a planet, it was the god Kukulkan, a deity tied to war, agriculture, and time itself. Their sacred calendar, the Tzolk'in, intertwined with Venus's cycles, dictating everything from planting seasons to the timing of battles. When Venus reappeared as the morning star, it signaled a time of renewal. As the evening star, it warned of upheaval. Priests used these celestial cues to guide kings, ensuring victories in war and bounty in harvest. But the real genius lies in how they compensated for the slight mismatch between their calendar and Venus's actual cycle. Over time, even a tiny error would throw predictions off, so the Maya devised a correction system. By tracking Venus across multiple cycles, they adjusted their calculations, maintaining accuracy over centuries. Imagine doing advanced math without Arabic numerals or calculators, using only dots and bars on a bark paper codex. That's the kind of brilliance we're talking about. What's haunting, though, is how much of this knowledge vanished. When Spanish colonizers burned Mayan texts, they erased centuries of astronomical insight. Today, researchers painstakingly piece together clues from surviving carvings and codices, revealing a science that was both spiritual and staggeringly precise. As we leave the Maya star-filled world, our next stop takes us to a desert empire where engineers turned wind into air conditioning centuries before electricity made it commonplace. Now, let's step into the scorching deserts of ancient Persia, where engineers mastered the art of staying cool without a single watt of electricity. These brilliant minds invented wind catchers, towering structures that harnessed the breeze to turn sweltering homes into refreshing oases. Picture a slender chimney rising above a clay roof, its open face catching even the faintest wind. But this wasn't just a simple vent. The magic happened underground, where a network of tunnels and water channels transformed hot air into a cooling current. As wind entered the wind catcher's shaft, it traveled downward, passing over subterranean pools or moist clay. The air cooled as it lost heat to the earth and water, then flowed into living spaces below. Meanwhile, hot indoor air rose and escaped through the tower, creating a continuous cycle. Some wind catchers even had multiple openings to catch breezes from any direction, while others used internal flaps to control airflow like ancient thermostat dials. What's astonishing is how these systems mirrored principles we now use in modern passive cooling. Today's architects study wind catchers to design energy-efficient buildings, replicating their natural convection and evaporative cooling. But here's the kicker: Persian wind catchers often outperformed their modern counterparts. In cities like Yazd, where summer temperatures soar past 110 degrees Fahrenheit, these structures could cool interiors by as much as 20 degrees without a single moving part. The real genius lay in their adaptability. In humid regions, wind catchers were paired with ice pits to dehumidify the air. In dry areas, they worked with qanats, those underground aqueducts we explored earlier, to amplify cooling. And unlike today's air conditioners, which guzzle energy, wind catchers ran silently on pure physics. Yet perhaps the most striking contrast is cultural. Where modern AC isolates us in sealed boxes, Persian wind catchers connected homes to their environment, using nature's rhythms to create comfort. As we grapple with climate change, these ancient towers offer a timeless lesson. Sometimes the most advanced solution is the one that works with the world, not against it. Next, we'll uncover how another civilization turned the simple act of locking a door into an engineering marvel, one that would evolve into the security systems we rely on today. Now, let's travel back to the Bronze Age, where the ancient Greeks engineered a security breakthrough that still echoes in our homes today. Hidden within the ruins of Mycenae, archaeologists uncovered a remarkable invention: the world's oldest known wooden door lock, dating back over 3,000 years. This wasn't just a simple bar across a door. It was a sophisticated system of sliding bolts and keys, designed to keep intruders out while granting access to those who knew its secrets. Picture a heavy wooden door with a vertical bolt slot. Inside, a horizontal bolt could slide into place, secured by pins that dropped into holes when the door was closed. To open it, you'd insert a long, toothy key made of wood or bronze. As you pushed the key upward, its pegs lifted the pins, freeing the bolt to slide back. It was a mechanical puzzle, one that required the right key to solve. What's fascinating is how this design laid the groundwork for centuries of lock technology. The Greeks' pin tumbler principle, the idea of using pins of varying lengths to block a bolt, was so effective that it reappeared in medieval locks and even inspired parts of modern cylinder locks. In fact, some historians argue that the Mycenaean lock was more advanced than many Roman or medieval versions that followed. But here's the twist: these locks weren't just about security. They were status symbols. The complexity of the mechanism and the materials used, like bronze keys inlaid with ivory, signaled wealth and power. Only the elite could afford such elaborate protection for their storerooms or treasuries. Yet for all their ingenuity, these locks had a vulnerability. Wood wears down over time, and a determined thief could carve a makeshift key. That's why later civilizations, like the Romans, began crafting locks entirely from metal, refining the Greek design into something more durable. As we turn the key on this chapter, consider how a simple wooden mechanism from Mycenae became the ancestor of every deadbolt and smart lock in our homes today. Next, we'll step into the shadow of the pyramids, where another ancient innovation, plumb bobs, ensured perfection in a world without laser levels. Moving from the intricate locks of Mycenae to the monumental precision of Egypt, we uncover another ancient marvel, the humble yet revolutionary plumb bob. While modern builders rely on laser levels and digital tools, The pyramid architects achieved astonishing accuracy with nothing more than a weighted string and keen observation. Imagine standing at the base of the Great Pyramid watching workers suspend a simple cord with a polished limestone weight at its end. Gravity did the rest, pulling the string into a perfectly vertical line. By aligning stone blocks to this unerring reference, the Egyptians ensured their structures rose straight and true, defying time itself. Archaeologists have unearthed these ancient tools in workers' settlements, their tapered limestone weights smoothed by countless hands. Some bear hieroglyphic markings suggesting they were calibrated for specific projects. The genius lies in their simplicity, a concept so effective that builders still use plumb bobs today, 3,000 years later. But here's what's truly remarkable. The pyramid's corners align with cardinal directions within a fraction of a degree. Without compasses or satellites, the Egyptians likely used plumb bobs alongside shadow-casting rods during solstices, marrying celestial observation with ground-level precision. Surviving plumb bobs reveal more than engineering prowess. They whisper of a culture that revered perfection. The weights weren't crude rocks but carefully shaped and polished symbols of dedication. When we see their flawless right angles, we're not just looking at geometry. We're witnessing the birth of architectural standards that would shape civilizations. As we lower the plumb line on this chapter, consider how a tool no more complex than a dangling stone helped erect wonders that still leave us breathless. Next, we'll ascend to the skies with an invention that turned silk and bamboo into the world's first hot air balloons, Kongming lanterns, lighting the way for ancient Chinese armies. Now, let's lift our gaze from the grounded precision of Egypt to the skies above ancient China, where ingenuity took flight in the most unexpected way. Centuries before the Montgolfier brothers made history with their hot air balloon, Chinese strategists were already harnessing the power of rising heat for military advantage. Enter the Kongming lantern, a deceptively simple yet brilliant invention that turned silk and bamboo into the world's earliest airborne messengers. Picture this, a lightweight frame of slender bamboo strips, carefully woven into a delicate sphere and wrapped in thin silk to trap warm air. At its base, a small oil lamp or wax-soaked cloth would be lit, heating the air inside. As the lantern filled with warmth, it would gently ascend, drifting high above battlefields or mountain passes. These glowing beacons weren't just for show. They were a sophisticated signaling system, allowing armies to coordinate movements across vast distances under the cover of darkness. What's fascinating is how these lanterns exploited principles of aerodynamics long before the science was formally understood. The silk membrane, lightweight yet durable, could withstand the heat without tearing, while the bamboo frame provided just enough structure to maintain shape during flight. Historical records suggest they could stay aloft for hours, visible for miles, a tactical advantage that left enemies bewildered. But the real marvel lies in their longevity. Unlike modern balloons that rely on synthetic materials, Kongming lanterns were entirely biodegradable, leaving no trace behind. Some scholars believe their design was inspired by observing floating embers from campfires, proving how ancient innovators turned everyday phenomena into groundbreaking technology. As these lanterns danced in the night sky, they did more than relay messages. They illuminated a path toward human flight. While Europe wouldn't catch up for over 1,000 years, China's skybound ingenuity reminds us that sometimes the most profound advancements come from the humblest materials. Next, we'll race across continents to explore another ancient communication break through the Roman postal system, where speed and efficiency reshaped an empire. Now, let's shift our focus from the skies of ancient China to the sprawling roads of the Roman Empire, where speed and organization revolutionized communication in a way the world had never seen. Imagine a time when urgent messages could travel faster than a galloping horse thanks to the Roman postal service, known as the cursus publicus. This wasn't just a mail system. It was a high-speed network that kept the empire connected, moving vital information across vast distances at an astonishing pace. At the heart of this system were relay stations, strategically placed every 10 to 15 miles along well-maintained roads. Each station was stocked with fresh horses and riders ready to sprint to the next stop without delay. A message could leap from one rider to another in seconds, ensuring it never slowed down. THIS Chinese letter approach allowed dispatches to cover up to 500 miles in a single day, a feat that would remain unmatched for centuries. To put that into perspective, medieval Europe's communication speeds paled in comparison. Without the Romans' organized infrastructure, messengers in the Middle Ages often traveled alone on tired horses with no relay system to keep the momentum going. A letter that might have taken a single day under Roman rule could stretch into weeks or even months in later centuries. The difference wasn't just about speed. It was about control. Rome's ability to move information quickly meant it could govern its territories efficiently, quell rebellions before they spread, and keep distant provinces loyal. But the cursus publicus wasn't just for official business. Over time, it became a lifeline for trade, diplomacy, and even personal correspondence among the elite. Merchants relied on it to track shipments, while generals used it to coordinate troop movements. The system was so effective that even after Rome's fall, fragments of its postal network survived in places like Byzantium, though never with the same precision. What's truly remarkable is how this ancient innovation mirrors modern logistics. The idea of relay stations and fresh couriers is eerily similar to how today's delivery networks operate, proof that the Romans were thinking centuries ahead of their time. Next, we'll step into the vibrant streets of Babylon, where another technological marvel transformed ordinary bricks into dazzling works of art. Leaving behind the swift messengers of Rome, we now journey to the sun-baked plains of Mesopotamia, where the Babylonians turned ordinary clay into something extraordinary. Their secret, glazed bricks, vibrant, durable, and so brilliantly colored they seem to defy time itself. Picture the Ishtar Gate, towering and majestic, its walls alive with golden lions and dragons shimmering against a backdrop of deep cobalt blue. These weren't just decorations, they were feats of chemical engineering crafted to withstand centuries under the harsh desert sun. The magic lay in the glaze, a glass-like coating fused to the brick's surface through high-temperature kiln firing. Babylon's artisans mixed crushed quartz with metal oxides, creating a palette of dazzling hues. Copper produced turquoise, cobalt yielded that signature blue, and manganese gave rich purples. But the real genius was in the chemistry. When fired, these mixtures melted into a waterproof, non-porous layer that locked out moisture and resisted erosion. Unlike paint, which flakes away, the glaze became part of the brick itself, bonding at a molecular level. Modern tests reveal just how advanced this process was. The quartz acted as a stabilizer, preventing the glaze from cracking as it expanded and contracted with temperature changes. Meanwhile, the metal oxides didn't just add color, they reinforced the glaze structure, making it harder and more resilient. Even today, fragments of these bricks retain their luster, a testament to a formula perfected over 2,500 years ago. What's striking is how these bricks functioned like ancient solar panels. Their glossy surfaces reflected sunlight, helping to keep buildings cooler, a clever adaptation to Mesopotamia's scorching climate. And while other civilizations struggled with fading pigments, Babylon's murals stood defiant, their colors as vivid as the day they were made. This wasn't just art, it was science in service of beauty, a marriage of aesthetics and durability that modern architects still study. Next, we'll climb the stepped mountains of the Andes, where the Inca engineered farmland that defied gravity itself. Now let's ascend into the clouds, where the Inca transformed sheer mountainsides into lush, productive gardens. High in the Andes, they carved terraces, massive staircases of earth and stone that turned steep slopes into fertile farmland. These weren't just flat patches of dirt. Each level was a carefully engineered ecosystem designed to conquer gravity and thrive in thin mountain air. The genius of Inca terrace farming lay in its simplicity and precision. By cutting steps into hillsides, they stopped precious topsoil from washing away during heavy rains. But the real innovation was in the details. The Inca built retaining walls from fitted stones, which absorbed heat during the day and radiated it back at night, protecting crops from freezing temperatures. They also dug drainage channels to prevent waterlogging, turning potential disasters like landslides into controlled irrigation systems. What's truly remarkable is how these terraces created microclimates. Lower levels, warmer and sheltered, grew maize and cotton. Higher up, where temperatures dropped, they cultivated potatoes and quinoa. This zoning allowed them to grow dozens of crop varieties in a single valley, maximizing yield in a place where flat land was scarce. Modern studies estimate that some terraces produced up to 3 times more food per acre than traditional flat farming in the region, a staggering feat for ancient agriculture. The Inca didn't just farm the land, they collaborated with it. Their terraces mimicked natural mountain contours, reducing erosion while boosting biodiversity. Even today, many of these ancient fields remain fertile, a testament to sustainable practices we're only now rediscovering. Next, we'll dive into the Mediterranean, where Greek engineers designed a naval weapon so fearsome it could sink ships with a single blow. Now let's plunge into the Aegean Sea, where Greek naval engineers turned warfare into an art of precision and power. The trireme ram was no blunt instrument. It was a carefully crafted weapon designed to strike with devastating efficiency. These bronze-sheathed rams, mounted just below the waterline, could pierce enemy hulls at speeds of up to 10 knots, sending ships to the bottom in a matter of seconds. What made these rams so deadly was their hydrodynamic design. Shaped like a spearhead, they concentrated the full force of a charging trireme into a single point, splitting planks apart like kindling. The bronze coating wasn't just for show, it prevented corrosion and added weight, ensuring the ram stayed submerged for maximum impact. But the real genius lay in the construction. The ram wasn't rigidly fixed, it was attached with flexible wooden beams that absorbed the shock of collision, protecting the attacking ship's own hull from damage. Modern experiments with reconstructed triremes have revealed just how terrifying these weapons were. In sea trials, replicas have demonstrated that a well-aimed ram could tear a hole nearly 2 meters wide in an enemy vessel. Researchers also discovered that the rams worked best at a precise angle around 30 degrees, allowing the attacking ship to withdraw quickly and avoid getting tangled in the wreckage. This wasn't brute force, it was calculated destruction. The trireme ram changed naval warfare forever, turning battles into high-speed chess matches where strategy and skill decided the outcome. Next, we'll journey to the sands of Egypt, where temples were built to align with the stars in ways that still baffle astronomers today. Shifting our gaze from the sea to the stars, we arrive at one of ancient Egypt's most breathtaking celestial feats. The Temple of Abu Simbel wasn't just a monument to pharaonic power. It was a precision-engineered timepiece aligned with the cosmos. Twice a year, on the pharaoh's birthday and his coronation day, sunlight would pierce the temple's 60-meter-long corridor, illuminating statues of Ramses II and the gods Amun and Ra-Horakhti in a golden spectacle. But the statue of Ptah, god of darkness, remained forever in shadow, a deliberate detail showcasing the Egyptians' mastery of light and symbolism. The mathematics behind this alignment are staggering. Builders had to account for the sun's shifting position across centuries, ensuring the phenomenon would endure. Modern calculations show the corridor was angled at exactly 26 degrees, matching the sun's path on those 2 sacred dates. Even more astonishing, the temple was relocated in the 1960s to avoid flooding from the Aswan Dam. Engineers painstakingly recreated the original alignment down to the millimeter, proving the ancient measurements were no accident. This wasn't isolated brilliance. Across Egypt, temples like Karnak and Dendera feature columns and doorways aligned with solstices or specific stars. The ceiling of Senenmut's tomb even maps celestial cycles with constellations positioned as they appeared in the night sky. Such precision hints at lost surveying tools or star charts far advanced for their time. As we marvel at these stone observatories, one question lingers: how did a civilization without telescopes or calculators achieve such astronomical accuracy? The answer may lie in generations of priest astronomers tracking the heavens with nothing but patience and naked eyes, turning architecture into a bridge between earth and sky. Next, we'll uncover how a humble wheelbarrow revolutionized ancient labor in ways Europe wouldn't match for over 1,000 years. Now, let's roll into a game-changing invention that transformed manual labor: the humble yet revolutionary Chinese wheelbarrow. During the Han Dynasty, around 2,000 years ago, these one-wheeled carts emerged as engineering marvels, capable of hauling staggering loads of up to 300 kilograms with surprising ease. What made them so effective? Their genius lay in the design. Unlike modern wheelbarrows that rely on brute strength to lift and balance loads, the Chinese version placed the wheel directly beneath the cargo, distributing weight evenly. This allowed a single person to transport heavy goods, whether bricks, crops, or military supplies, over long distances without exhausting effort. But here's where history takes an ironic turn. While China was optimizing logistics with wheelbarrows as early as the 1st century, Europe wouldn't adopt this labor-saving device until the 12th or 13th century, over 1,000 years later. And even then, European models were clunkier, with the wheel positioned at the front, forcing users to bear more of the load's weight. Some scholars argue this delay might have slowed construction and agricultural productivity in medieval Europe, where workers relied on less efficient methods like carrying loads on their backs or dragging sledges. The Chinese wheelbarrow wasn't just practical, it was adaptable. Variations included sail-assisted models for windy plains and even mobile barricades used in warfare. Accounts from the Song dynasty describe armies using them to transport wounded soldiers or create instant fortifications. This versatility hints at why the wheelbarrow became a cornerstone of Chinese infrastructure, enabling projects like the Great Wall and sprawling canal networks. So why did Europe lag behind? Some point to differences in terrain or the fragmentation of medieval societies, but the deeper lesson is clear: sometimes the simplest innovations have the most profound impact. Next, we'll step into the homes of ancient Rome, where another everyday luxury, multi-pane windows, reveals a surprising gap between ancient and medieval comfort. Moving from the bustling construction sites of ancient China, let's step inside the luxurious villas of Rome, where comfort met ingenuity in an unexpected way through their windows. While we take glass panes for granted today, the Romans had a clever workaround: translucent sheets of mica. This naturally occurring mineral, carefully split into thin layers, allowed sunlight to filter into homes while keeping prying eyes out. Imagine walking into a Roman villa and seeing these shimmering panels, diffusing light softly across mosaic floors. Privacy and elegance combined. But the innovation didn't stop there. These mica windows weren't just about aesthetics, they were surprisingly functional. Tests on excavated fragments reveal that they provided decent insulation, helping regulate indoor temperatures. In winter, they trapped warmth from hypocaust heating systems, while in summer, they blocked some of the scorching Mediterranean heat. Compare that to medieval Europe, where parchment or oiled cloth-covered windows often left homes drafty and dim. The Romans, it seems, were centuries ahead in home comfort. What's even more fascinating is how widespread this technology was. From Pompeii's middle-class homes to the grand villas of Herculaneum, mica windows appeared across social classes, suggesting a level of everyday luxury we rarely associate with the ancient world. Some wealthier households even layered mica with thinly sliced marble for added opulence, creating a stained glass effect long before Gothic cathedrals. So why did this innovation fade? The fall of the Roman Empire disrupted trade networks that supplied mica, and the knowledge of working with it was gradually lost. Yet for centuries, Romans enjoyed a simple luxury that wouldn't return until the Renaissance, proof that even the smallest details of daily life can reveal a civilization's brilliance. Up next, we'll journey to the jungles of the Maya, where water pressure engineering defied expectations in ways that still astonish engineers today. Now, let's venture deep into the jungles of the ancient Maya, where water wasn't just a resource, it was a masterpiece of engineering. While Rome had its mica windows, the Maya achieved something equally astonishing with their pressurized aqueducts in Palenque. Picture this, a sprawling palace complex where water didn't just flow, it surged upward, defying gravity to create ornate fountains in a city surrounded by dense rainforest. The secret lay in their ingenious use of elevation and narrow stone channels. Unlike typical aqueducts that rely on gentle slopes, the Maya built their system with sudden drops and precisely calculated constrictions. This created enough pressure to force water upward, a technique modern hydraulics experts call the Venturi effect. Imagine the awe of visitors seeing water arc into the air without any mechanical pumps, just pure physics mastered over 1,000 years ago. What's even more remarkable is how they sustained this system. Palenque sat atop natural springs, but the Maya didn't just channel the water, they controlled it. Underground conduits made of limestone, some with airtight seals, maintained pressure over long distances. Archaeologists have found pipes with diameters as small as 2 inches, proving the Maya understood that narrower pathways increased velocity. This wasn't just plumbing, it was precision engineering. Why does this matter today? Because it challenges assumptions about ancient technology. While the Romans excelled in grand infrastructure, the Maya achieved sophistication on a micro scale, manipulating water in ways Europe wouldn't replicate until the Industrial Revolution. Their fountains weren't just decorative, they symbolized power, blending artistry with advanced science. Yet, like Rome's mica windows, this knowledge faded. The collapse of Maya city-states scattered their engineers, and the jungle reclaimed their aqueducts. But the remnants at Palenque stand as a testament to a civilization that turned water into wonder. Next, we'll uncover how ancient India cracked one of metallurgy's toughest challenges, producing pure zinc, centuries before the rest of the world. Now, let's journey to ancient India, where metallurgists achieved what many thought impossible, extracting pure zinc from its ore. While other civilizations struggled with this elusive metal, Indian smelters perfected a method so advanced it wouldn't be matched for centuries. The challenge with zinc was its rebellious nature. When heated, it vaporizes before reaching the temperature needed to separate it from ore. Most ancient smelters ended up with zinc escaping as gas, leaving them baffled. But by the 4th century before the Common Era, Indian craftsmen cracked the code with a breakthrough downward distillation. Here's how it worked. They designed special clay retorts sealed at the top with small openings at the bottom. Zinc ore and charcoal were heated inside, but instead of letting the vapor escape upward, the setup forced it downward into a cooler chamber. This sudden temperature drop caused the vapor to condense into liquid zinc, which could then be collected. It was like catching smoke and turning it into solid metal, a feat of ingenuity that defied the limits of ancient technology. Why was this so revolutionary? Because pure zinc was crucial for making brass, a prized alloy for tools, weapons, and ornaments. While others imported zinc or settled for impure versions, India's method produced it in bulk with remarkable purity. Archaeologists have found evidence of these smelting sites in Rajasthan, where thousands of retorts lay scattered, proof of an industrial-scale operation. Yet the technique vanished for centuries after India's decline, leaving Europe to rediscover zinc isolation only in the 18th century. The irony. Modern metallurgists still marvel at how ancient Indians tamed this tricky metal with nothing but clay, fire, and sheer brilliance. Next, we'll ignite the flames of history with a look at Greek fire, syringes, a terrifying weapon that turned the tides of naval warfare. Shifting our focus to the Mediterranean, we uncover another marvel of ancient engineering, the Greek fire syringe. This terrifying device, attributed to the brilliant inventor Ctesibius of Alexandria, was essentially a flamethrower centuries ahead of its time. Imagine a weapon that could launch liquid fire across the decks of enemy ships, turning the tide of naval battles in an instant. The secret lay in its ingenious double-piston design. Two bronze cylinders fitted with plungers worked in tandem to create a continuous stream of pressurized flammable liquid, likely a primitive form of Greek fire. When one piston drew back to suck in fuel, the other pushed forward to eject a blazing jet. This alternating motion allowed for sustained bursts of flame, unlike anything the ancient world had seen before. But how did it function in combat? Historical accounts suggest these devices were mounted on Byzantine warships, possibly operated by teams of sailors. As enemy vessels closed in, crews would pump the mechanism furiously, spraying fire through bronze nozzles. The effect was both psychological and physical. Sailors faced not just burns, but the sheer horror of unstoppable flames clinging to wood and sails. What makes this invention so remarkable is its sophistication. The precision-machined pistons required expert metallurgy to prevent leaks, while the fuel mixture demanded deep chemical knowledge. Some scholars believe these syringes inspired later Roman fire engines, repurposed for peace rather than war. Yet mysteries remain. No complete fire syringe has been excavated, leaving historians to piece together its design from fragmented texts and reliefs. Was it used in the legendary defense of Constantinople? Did its technology spread east along trade routes? The answers may still lie buried, waiting to reignite our understanding of ancient warfare's most fearsome innovations. Next, we'll step into the scorching heat of Egyptian kilns, where artisans achieved temperatures once thought impossible for their time. Now let's step into the blistering world of ancient Egyptian craftsmanship, where artisans mastered the art of extreme heat. The beehive kilns of Egypt were nothing short of revolutionary, achieving temperatures that would challenge even modern potters. These dome-shaped ovens, often built from mud brick, could reach an astonishing 1,000 degrees Celsius without a single piece of contemporary insulation or temperature control. So how did they pull off this thermal marvel? The secret lay in their ingenious design. The kilns featured thick walls to retain heat, with carefully placed air vents that created a natural draft. Fuel, usually dried animal dung or wood, was loaded through a lower opening, while the pottery sat on a raised platform inside. As the fire burned, hot air would spiral upward in a vortex, evenly distributing heat around the ceramics. This circulation was so efficient that it could fire delicate faience pottery, a glazed quartz paste that required precise temperature management to achieve its signature vibrant blues and greens. But the real breakthrough was in their material science. Archaeologists have found traces of crushed limestone mixed into the kiln walls, acting as a primitive refractory lining to withstand repeated heating cycles. Some kilns even show evidence of layered construction, an outer shell of insulating mud brick with an inner layer of heat-resistant clay. This dual-layer approach prevented cracking while maintaining internal temperatures high enough to vitrify glass and harden ceramics to near indestructible levels. What's truly baffling is their consistency. Excavations reveal kilns that operated for decades, producing thousands of identical tiles and amulets without modern pyrometers or thermostats. Artisans likely judged temperature by the color of the flames and the sound of the draft, skills passed down through generations. These kilns didn't just make pretty trinkets. They fueled an entire industry, from waterproof storage jars to the iconic blue glazed scarabs buried with pharaohs. Next time you marvel at ancient Egyptian pottery, remember, those dazzling colors were born in the inferno of a beehive kiln, where Bronze Age science met artistic genius. As we move forward, prepare to witness another leap in ancient innovation where simple carts transformed into engineering masterpieces. Now let's shift gears to a seemingly simple innovation that revolutionized agriculture and transportation, the Chinese horse harness. While Europe struggled with a design that literally choked their horses, ancient China had already perfected a far more efficient system. The difference between these two harnesses wasn't just about comfort, it reshaped entire economies. The European throat and girth harness, used for centuries, wrapped straps around the horse's neck and belly. At first glance, it seemed practical, but it had a fatal flaw. When the horse pulled a heavy load, the strap pressed against its windpipe, cutting off airflow. This meant horses could only exert a fraction of their strength before suffocating, limiting plows and carts to light weights. Historians estimate this design reduced a horse's pulling power by as much as 80%. Meanwhile, over in China, engineers had devised the chest harness as early as the 3rd century BCE. Instead of straining the neck, this design distributed the load across the horse's chest and shoulders, the strongest parts of its body. A rigid wooden collar rested above the collarbone, with traces connecting to the cart or plow. This allowed horses to breathe freely while using nearly their full strength. The impact was staggering. Chinese farmers could plow deeper and haul heavier loads, boosting crop yields dramatically. Trade carts transported goods over longer distances without exhausting the animals. Some scholars argue this efficiency gap even influenced the pace of technological development between East and West. While Europe's choked horses slowed agricultural progress, China's thriving farms and trade networks fueled innovations. What's truly surprising is how long it took for Europe to adopt the superior design. Despite contact with Asian cultures, the throat harness persisted until the 9th or 10th century, nearly 1,000 years after China's solution. Some theories suggest cultural resistance to foreign ideas played a role, while others blame the slow spread of technical knowledge. Next time you see a modern horse collar, remember, it's not just a strap, it's a testament to ancient Chinese engineering that unlocked the true potential of animal labor. And as we'll soon see, another civilization was making leaps in material science that still baffle experts today. Now, let's turn our attention to an ancient material that seems almost magical: Roman self-healing concrete. While modern concrete crumbles after a few decades, some Roman structures have stood strong for over 2,000 years. The secret, a remarkable ability to repair itself, and scientists have only recently uncovered how it works. The key lies in a surprising ingredient: limeclasts. These tiny, white chunks of calcium carbonate were once thought to be a sign of poor mixing, but new research reveals they're actually the concrete's built-in repair kit. When cracks form and seawater seeps in, the limeclasts dissolve, releasing a flood of calcium-rich minerals. These minerals react with the water, forming new crystals that fill the cracks and bond the concrete back together. It's like the material has its own immune system, healing damage before it can spread. This discovery has huge implications for modern construction. Imagine bridges, roads, or even skyscrapers that fix their own cracks, reducing maintenance costs and extending lifespans. Some researchers are already experimenting with adding synthetic limeclasts to modern concrete mixes, hoping to replicate the Romans' genius. What's even more fascinating is how the Romans stumbled upon this innovation. They didn't have microscopes or chemical labs, just centuries of trial and error. Their concrete wasn't just strong, it was designed to thrive in harsh conditions, especially marine environments. While our modern concrete weakens in salt water, theirs grew stronger over time. As we wrap up this look at ancient ingenuity, one question lingers: how many other forgotten technologies could revolutionize our world today? The answer might lie in our final discovery, a desert civilization that mastered water in ways that still astonish engineers. Now we arrive at our final forgotten marvel, one that turned barren desert into a thriving oasis, the Nabatean water collection system. Nestled in the heart of modern-day Jordan, the ancient city of Petra faced a seemingly impossible challenge, sustaining tens of thousands of people in one of the driest regions on Earth. Yet the Nabateans didn't just survive, they flourished, thanks to an engineering masterpiece that still leaves hydrologists in awe. At the core of their system was a sprawling network of dams, cisterns, and ceramic pipes, all designed to capture every precious drop of water. Unlike other desert civilizations that relied on rare oases or rivers, the Nabateans harnessed something far more elusive: flash floods. Their engineers mapped a 200-mile catchment area across the surrounding mountains, channeling seasonal downpours through a series of stone dams. These structures slowed the torrents, directing water into underground cisterns carved directly into Petra's rose-red cliffs. But the real genius lay in their distribution. Using gravity-fed ceramic pipes, some as narrow as a few inches wide, they delivered water to homes, gardens, and even public fountains. The pipes were ingeniously designed with self-cleaning slopes and sedimentation tanks to filter out debris. Remarkably, this system could store enough water to sustain Petra's population for up to 2 years without rain, a lifeline in a land where droughts could last for seasons. What's even more astonishing is how little was wasted. The Nabateans recycled water multiple times, using it first for drinking, then agriculture, and finally for industrial purposes like tanning leather. Their terraced farms, fed by this recycled water, turned arid slopes into lush fields of grapes, figs, and wheat. As we close our journey through 50 forgotten technologies, Petra's water system stands as a testament to human adaptability. In an era before pumps or satellites, the Nabateans outsmarted nature itself, creating a blueprint for sustainable living that modern cities in drought-prone regions are only now beginning to emulate. It makes you wonder what other ancient solutions are waiting to be rediscovered, ready to inspire the next chapter of human innovation. As we step back and look at these 50 forgotten technologies, one truth becomes undeniable: our ancestors were far more advanced than we often give them credit for. From the intricate gears of the Antikythera Mechanism to Petra's revolutionary water system, these innovations weren't just ahead of their time, they were leaps beyond what followed in the medieval era. It's humbling to realize that concrete stronger than ours, steel sharper than modern blades, and earthquake detectors more precise than early modern instruments all existed centuries, even millennia, before the so-called Dark Ages. So why did so much of this brilliance vanish? Was it war, natural disasters, or simply the slow erosion of knowledge when empires fell? Perhaps it was a mix of all three: precious techniques guarded as state secrets, apprenticeships broken by conflict, or scrolls lost to time. The Nabateans left no manuals for their water systems. The Romans never wrote down their concrete recipe, and the secret of Greek fire died with Byzantium. Each loss whispers a cautionary tale about how fragile human progress can be. But here's the thrilling part: we've only scratched the surface. Think of the technologies we've rediscovered by chance: shipwrecks revealing ancient computers, tombs hiding unrusted blades, and deserts preserving rubber balls that still bounce after 3,000 years. What else lies buried beneath our feet or hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right explorer to uncover it? Could there be forgotten energy sources, medical breakthroughs, or even early forms of computing we haven't yet imagined? That's the real magic of history. It's never fully written. Every dig site, every newly translated manuscript, and every high-tech scan of a pyramid could rewrite what we know about humanity's past. So if you're as fascinated by these mysteries as I am, don't let the curiosity stop here. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we're just getting started. Together, let's keep unearthing the lost wonders of our world, one forgotten technology at a time. Who knows, the next great discovery might be waiting for you to hit play.